Texas football escapes yet again with a 29-26 victory in Fort Worth. The NFL playoff race is starting to heat up in a big way, and hoop stars around the country continue to show up and show out. All of this and more coming up on College Crossfire.
What are those? Coming back to that 2021 MVP. He's better than Josh Allen. He's better than Baker Mayfield. He's not better than Mahomes. I can't say that. What?
See, the different kick, you get kicked. So,
You know, a bag of money or whatever, some food inside of them. Okay. All right. We're gonna move on.
Good evening, and welcome into the most informational and statistically accurate sports show on planet Earth. I'm your official host, Ryan Swantkowski, and we have a great show for you this evening. Before meeting our contestants, I want to share with you that today's show is brought to you by Cap Metro, Austin's transit system. We connect you to work, school, play, and everywhere else in between. Plan your rides to this weekend's game at capmetro.org. All right, let's go ahead now and meet the players of tonight's contest, Week 11. Introducing first, making his season debut with some very fiery takes, Ronan Benford. Ronan, how we feeling? How we feeling? How we doing?
Oh, I'm feeling and I'm doing great, okay? I wouldn't want to be anywhere else on a Wednesday night, and I know whenever I'm trying to get around Austin, Texas, I ride Cap Metro.
Wonderful. I like that. Well, welcome, Ronan. Great for you to be here. Introducing second, making his first ever College Crossfire debut, Carlos Salinas. Carlos, how we feeling?
What's up, y'all? It's my first time ever on here. I'm really excited. Hopefully, my takes are valid, and hopefully everyone, especially the viewers, really agree on my hot takes, and hook 'em horns.
There we go. Love that. Welcome to the show. Introducing third, a man with a bright orange hat on, go Astros maybe, and a man who's been putting up some big scores so far this season with his fourth appearance, Grabiel Silva. Grabiel, how we feeling?
I'm excited to be here. This is not my first rodeo, going up against a couple young bucks here, and yeah, I'm ready to hopefully secure a win after back-to-back 1-point losses. Try to change the tide.
There we go. Is that the point of the hat? Is this ain't your first rodeo?
I would say that, yes.
Yes. Okay, he would say that. Yes. Yeah.
Longhorn theme.
It is Longhorn themed as well. Wonderful. Well, welcome to the show as well. Before we get started, though, let's go over the rules of the game, just in case you are a new viewer and have never tuned in before. There will be 3 rounds, with each round containing 3 questions, and points will be given to who I believe has the best answer in order of 3 points, 2 points, and 1 point. Whoever has the most points at the end of the third round wins and gets to come back for next week's show as well. But we can't forget that the third and final round, or the rapid fire round, is worth double the points. That meaning the best answer will receive 6 points, and so on. Also in this rapid fire round, the contestants have not been able to see or prepare for these questions at all, meaning they will have to improvise, overcome, and you know what's coming next, guys. Just hopefully not get caught in the crossfire. Now that the game is explained, let's get to firing. Texas football on Saturday defeated the Horned Frogs by a final score of 29-26. After leading by 20 points at halftime, the Horns went on to score just 3 more and hung on to the victory as A.D. Mitchell made a phenomenal third down catch to put TCU away. In your opinion, though, why is Texas having trouble closing out these games down the stretch? Ronan, we'll start with you.
Pretty easy for me, at least. It's complacency. It's this sense of comfort, or at least this false sense of comfort that they have found within themselves. We went into these games expecting to win by big. The teams weren't really, they weren't thought to have any competition for Texas. And then Texas goes up big in the first half, or even through the first 3 quarters. But then by the end, they get too comfortable. They're too willing to give up points because they already have it. It's kind of like a student who has this big project at the end of the semester, and they do a lot of the project really early on, like within the first couple of weeks, and they decide, you know what, I don't even need to look at this thing.
Right.
And then at the very end of the week until the project is due, they're like, oh my God, I have to actually address this. And then they end up settling for an 80 or a 70 when in fact they could have done much better. So ultimately, UT's lack of urgency and their complacency by the players, by the coaching staff, by everyone in the department has really bit them these last 2 weeks.
Wow, there you go, ladies and gentlemen, complacency. Love the metaphor there, by the way. That's happened to me. I'm sure it's happened to everybody at some point in their life. Early on the project, I don't really care about it. Deadline. So that's great. I like the complacency answer a lot. All right, Carlos, let's see what you got to say.
Well, first of all, I think it's really important to give a shout out to Coach Sark. He's done a phenomenal job at Texas within the last 2 years that he's been here. Last year we went 8-5. Now we're closing in on 10-1. But this is an issue that, quite frankly, is not new for Texas. It's been happening for the last 2 or 3 years that Texas dominates first half of the game, and then somehow, great analogy like you said before, Ronan, they just completely forget. And I feel like the team is going on autopilot. I feel to resolve this issue, Sark needs to implement some ways, look back at film or get new defensive coordinators, because at this point, we're a top 7 team in the country, right? Behind Oregon, we're one of the best in terms of one-loss teams, and we beat Alabama. That really shows that we have potential to make the playoffs. And for being a top 7 team, we're just really inconsistent. Like, how are we going to almost lose to Houston, which is unranked, and TCU, which is unranked as well? And I feel like each time it's a hurdle, and it's just by a miracle that we almost lose, or that we don't lose.
Yeah, fair enough. Like you said, almost a hurdle every time, autopilot every time. You're right. First few games, they actually started off not so great and then finished really well. Then out of nowhere, the bye week came, and here the Horns are almost losing every game that they've been in these past 5 weeks, besides BYU. It's been pretty crazy. I like that answer, though. All right, round us off, Grabiel.
Well, at the beginning of the season, against Rice and Wyoming, the storyline was, how come we're starting off so slow? You know what I mean? It was real lackluster through the first 3 quarters, and then a very dominant, strong fourth quarter, especially against that Alabama team that we played at the beginning of the season. Now, it's like it just flipped on its head. This team, they're getting into big leads, which is great, but it's not for the faint of heart to have such a close game going into the fourth quarter. And then with the
Oh, good. Keep it going, man.
I lost my train.
This is what happens. This is what happens. It's okay. Keep going.
I lost my train of thought. Oh my God.
That's okay.
Great note to end on.
That's okay. It happens. If you just want to wrap it up, that's okay too.
So a big problem for the why they're losing these leads is because the offense, they're getting too complacent and they're going 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out. And the defense, they play good all 3 quarters of the game. I remember seeing this against Kansas State. Kansas State had no offense through the first 3 quarters, and then in the fourth quarter they just went right up to one of the best offenses in college football. And same thing happened against TCU. They scored 20 points in the fourth quarter, and I believe that is a key reason why the offense takes their foot off the gas. Defense is on the field for too long. They get gassed, and then it leads to another heart-aching, heart attack type of game again for Longhorns fans.
Absolutely right. I really like that he brought up the defense through 3 quarters has been, for the most part, very good. Fourth quarter comes around, it seems like it's an entirely new offense out there. So completely agree with you there. All right, giving out points with the 3. I'm going to give it to Ronan first. Like you said, really like the metaphor there. In all honesty, we need some more metaphors on this show. What do you think, Joe? Joe's not. Joe said it was pretty slick. So there we go. With the 2, I'm going to give it to Carlos. Like the autopilot there. Completely agree with you there. With the 1, I'm going to give it to Grabiel to round off question 1. Moving over to our second question, yet sticking here with Texas football, the Horns now travel up to Ames to take on the Iowa State Cyclones. This is Texas's first consecutive road game of the year and their last, and it's also projected to be their coldest game as well in the low to mid 40s. What is your prediction for this game and why? And Carlos, we'll start with you in the middle.
So I really think this game really boils down to defense. And as we see in the Big 12 Conference, Iowa State's number 1 and Texas is at number 2. So my prediction for this game is that it's going to be a really low-scoring game, and we're really going to have to depend on Sweat and Sweat and Byron Murphy. We're going to have to depend on those 2 guys. They're really big dudes, and we're going to have to defend against Iowa State, which is a really solid team. And honestly, as well, wide receivers. It's also going to be a really cold game, which is in our disadvantage. Texas, we live in a really hot environment, really humid. So Texas is really used to playing in a really hot environment. Now they're going to be tested once again in the cold and also be tested defensively.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you have a winner?
I'd say Texas by a slight margin because of what's been happening the last couple weeks. Texas is unpredictable, but, as a Longhorn fan, I've got faith that we'll win this and make the playoff.
Fair enough. I like the thought there that you brought up the weather. Also, like he brought in Sweat and Murphy, going to be huge. Also, I don't know if anybody saw I believe it was the O-lineman for Iowa State calling out UT. I'm not going to get too far into that as I saw a contestant get mad that I said that, but great answer. And now we're going to hear from Grabiel.
Like you were mentioning earlier, Gerard Hufford, Iowa State O-lineman, he did the worst possible thing you could do to a team like Texas. He, ticked them off. He purposely talked down on the Texas Longhorns, and he's going to have to line up against Tavondre Sweat and Byron Murphy the whole game. Like you said, the defense is going to be a real big key. I'm going to go a little different here. I'm going to go with how the offense is going to look now with the injury to Jonathan Brooks. Who's going to step up in the running game is going to be C.J. Baxter, Killian Robinson, Jaden Blue, Savion Red even. Who's it going to be to pick up the production that we're losing with Jonathan Brooks, not even in this week, but throughout the rest of the season? I also believe that Quinn Ewers is going to be the key. And along with his outside weapons, Xavier Worthy had 10 catches this past weekend. I believe he's going to get the same amount or close to this upcoming Saturday against Iowa State, even though it's going to be cold. This is great football weather. I also believe A.D. Mitchell is going to get the ball in his hands more, maybe even Jordan Whittington and J.T. Sanders. So Texas is going to have to find a way to spread it out more with the lack of run game. And my prediction for this game, I would like to say 31-21. The Texas defense is going to shut it down yet again, hopefully for the full 4 quarters, because of Gerard Herford making him mad.
Fair enough. I like how you brought in Gerard there. Not sure quite what he's doing. Like how you brought in Jonathan Brooks' injury, which is huge. RB1 goes down, tears his ACL. Could be interesting to see how Quinn can spread the ball around. Seems like probably he's a little bit more healthy this week than he was last. So we'll see. Absolutely. Ronan, round us off.
All right. As my 2 contestants previously mentioned, both of these defenses are really, really good. So it's going to depend on UT's offense. I think that's going to be the big difference maker, especially with Quinn Ewers, his second week back. I think we'll see a lot of improvements there. Ultimately, I'm not too worried about this back-to-back traveling schedule. It is a week apart from each other. And also, I think that the UT Longhorns football team is like the U.S. Postal System. We are going to give you rain, wind, or shine, no matter the conditions, a close contested game that we should win by much more. I'm going to go 24-21 UT.
Okay, another metaphor there, another great one. Rain, wind, shine, UT football will be playing. I like that a lot, Ronan. That is great. Okay, quickly assigning points here with the 3. Going to give it to Grabiel. Great explanation over there. Jonathan Brooks was a key word there. We'll see if Cedric Baxter can get the ball more, see what Quinn can do on the outside. Should be very interesting to see. With the 2, I'm going to give it to Carlos here in the middle. Liked your explanation, again, a lot with Sweat and Murphy. And with the 1, I'm going to give it to Ronan. Love the metaphor yet again, though, man. Keep those up. These are great. Joe's loving them. Okay, switching over to our final question for this block, but staying with Texas, but switching to a different sport. The Texans women's basketball team is 2-0 to start the season, with some generally easy opponents remaining to start the year as well. What has been your biggest takeaway from this team so far, and why did you pick this answer? Grabiel, we'll start with you on the end.
Well, I didn't really know how to phrase this answer. I'm going to have to go with how they're dominating opponents that they're supposed to be dominating. We saw teams like LSU and UConn slip up early with some key upsets, while this Longhorns team has been taking care of business like they're supposed to as the number 11th ranked team in the nation. I believe, I don't know their names, but they have 2 great scorers that have been doing really good. They average the most points on the team. I don't really watch Texas women's basketball a lot, but I know that what they're doing, what they're building here is going to be great. I like that they're taking care of teams that they're supposed to be taking care of, especially with teams like UConn coming into town in a couple weeks, and then getting into that gauntlet of a Big 12 schedule with Baylor, Texas Tech, and among other teams. So I'm going to have to go with how they've been looking so far.
Yeah, absolutely. They've been taking care of what they need to be taken care of. You mentioned the 2 main scorers. Roy Harmon's one of those for sure. Like that a lot. All right, Ronald, let's hear it.
All right. As Grabiel mentioned, the women's basketball team is winning the games that they are supposed to. If I can use a metaphor real quick, it's like a student getting an attendance grade. They're showing up whenever they're supposed to, doing the work that they're supposed to be doing, and getting the credit for it. I think another thing to just look at is our good quality two-way play. We're currently ranked in the 50 D1 teams, 14th in margin of victory, but also 6th in the 2 games played teams. So I think that that's indicative of the talent on the court and the quality and consistency that they've been showing this season, that they'll probably continue to show for a little bit longer here.
Absolutely. Another great metaphor, and I like the two-way play a lot. I like the use of statistics there as well. Okay, Carlos, let's hear it.
So I think, first of all, for me personally, I'm going to have to put it out there. I'm not a really big basketball fan. I'm really much more into college football. But I think some key takeaways from this is that it's very early in the season. I think it's too early to identify whether this season is going to be good or not. But, I mean, going against really easy opponents and dominating them, as they should, is a really good sign. And this might turn up in the right direction. And also, I think it's important to note that within the last 2 years, Texas has done a phenomenal job at the Big 12 rankings. And honestly, I'm really hopeful for this year. I think this year is going to be a great year for Texas in general. And I think it's just going to have to come down to Oklahoma, because Oklahoma is ranked, I believe, #1 in the Big 12. And also, I mean, the Big 12, it's just a lot of competitiveness there, and I feel like each year, each team is very unpredictable sometimes. Sometimes they have really great seasons, sometimes they have really bad seasons. That's just how it is. In terms of March Madness, I think Texas has a real good shot at maybe going into the playoffs and getting really high up there. And that's just hopeful, and that's just how I am.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Yeah, fair enough. I like the fact that, the Big 12 year in and year out, there's some teams that dominate, but there's also some teams that are kind of streaky that maybe not, be doing that thing. And so I like that it's a lot. I like it. Okay. Assigning points with the 3. Gonna give it to Ronan here. Like the use of stats there. Another good metaphor. Another great metaphor, guys. But really like the use of stats that you brought in there. With the 2, I'm gonna give it to Carlos in the middle. Like the perspective you brought in. It's still very early. I like that perspective. We'll see how it plays out. With the 1, I'm gonna give it to Grabiel to round off this first block. And that will wrap things up for tonight's first round. Don't go anywhere. College Crossfire. We'll be right back. Welcome back into College Crossfire. Quick score update for everybody watching and tuning in. Ronan right here in the first shirt leads the way with 7. Carlos right behind him with 6. And Grabiel at the end there with 5. Still anybody's game to take, and let's now shift gears over to some different subjects in sports. The NFL has been extremely entertaining this season, especially the AFC conference so far. Week in and week out, it seems like the AFC standings change just dramatically. If you had to pick the 3 teams to make the AFC wildcard right now, who would they be, and why do you choose these 3 teams? Grabiel, we'll start with you on the end.
Okay, so my first team that I believe is gonna be a lock is gonna be the Cincinnati Bengals. Okay, they were on a hot streak, and they ran into the Texans.
Yeah, they did.
They did. C.J. Stroud has been doing really good, but Joe Burrow has also been doing good. He led him on a miniature comeback, fell short, but they've also been beating some pretty good teams, and they have some more pretty good teams coming up. All right, that's team number 1. Okay, so the NFC North is really competitive, right? But the Deshaun Watson news hurts the Browns a lot, so I'm not going to take the Browns into consideration here. Somehow, some way, I believe the Steelers are going to make it in yet again. They always find themselves above 500 at the end of the year, and in the AFC, that might just help boost them into the playoff talk. Okay, I'm not a believer in the Steelers, but I believe that they will end up, as one of the final 3 teams there. And for the last team, I'm going to have to go with the Houston Texans, all right? The Houston Texans, they have been doing really, really, really good. C.J. Stroud has been playing off the charts these past few weeks. He's led them on some clutch game-winning drives, back-to-back weeks against the Buccaneers and the Bengals. You could talk about the subpar opponents that they've been playing, and then they walked right into Cincinnati, and they just took it right from the city of Cincinnati, right in front of their hearts. So I'm going to go with those 3 teams, the Bengals, the Steelers, and the Texans, for my wild card teams in the AFC.
Fair enough. I like those 3 teams a lot. Joe Burrow, definitely, a guy that's been clutch down the line, especially. He can lead them back to the playoffs. Steelers have been a very interesting team this year. 6-3, I believe. Dominant defense, though. Pretty crazy to see, and I like how you brought in the Texans there. I'm not going to be biased today. This is not going to happen. I did like how you brought in the Texans, though. Their strength of schedule's been better than that, though. Come on now. But I like those calls. All right, Ronan, let's hear it. Oh, sorry, in the middle. Carlos, let's hear it.
Okay, so I think first of all it's important to note to our viewers what is a wild card. So a wild card is essentially these franchises, these teams making the playoffs without winning their respective conferences.
Divisions,
correct. Exactly. And I'm going to honestly go with the same pick as Grabiel. I mean, I think Texans, first of all, in my opinion, they weren't really a good franchise. They weren't really a good team for a while. And then this season they're doing pretty well. Joe Burrow is also a really phenomenal player. He's doing pretty great this season as well. I really don't have much to say besides that. Those teams, they have a really good chance. They're not as good as, like, the Chiefs, for example. But I feel like they do have a decent chance of making the wild card this season.
Fair enough. Yep. Just adding on to the flame there that Grabiel started. I completely agree that these are 3 very solid teams that I can see making it. All right, Ronan, let's hear it.
I'm going to go with the triple B. Bengals, Bills, Browns. I think that the Bengals will beat better competition boisterously behind the spirit of competition, but still fail to defeat the divisional leaders. I think the Bills, Josh Allen will carry, and for Cleveland, I just think that, or for the Browns, I think the spirit of Cleveland will prevail. LeBron James will be cheering on the sidelines, and I think that they're going to make it this year. Thank you. That was my time.
Okay. the triple B's, Bengals, Bills, and Browns. Interesting picks there, to say the least. But, you got to respect. I respect it. Assigning points here, Grabiel, you're getting the 3 for sure down there. Love the explanation. Can definitely see those 3 teams making it. With the 2, Carlos, I'm going to have to give it to you here in the middle. Not much of an explanation, which is okay, but I still like your picks as well. With the 1, I'm going to give it to Ronan. Just personal opinion, based off what I've seen from the Bills and Josh Allen, it's not looking good. Based off the Browns losing Nick Chubb and Deshaun Watson for the season, also not looking great. So you're going to get the 1 there, and that's okay.
Will prevail.
There we go. Moving over to the NBA. The season is now in full swing as teams now have a decent number of games under their belt. So far this season, which team do you think has been the most disappointing or not lived up to the hype, and why haven't they? In the middle, we'll start with Carlos.
All right. Y'all viewers saw this coming, man. It's going to be the Spurs. Like, let's be honest here. They're, like, second to last in their own conference. And what is it, the Western Conference? They're, like, in their second to last behind Memphis. I think, they got number 1 draft pick, Victor Wembanyama, or Wemby as people call it. And and people were just overhyping the Spurs. People are like, oh yeah, we're gonna win the NBA Finals and all this stuff. You know what? 3-8. That's embarrassing as a franchise itself. And I think a single player can't really revolutionize the whole entire team. He's a great blocker. He's like a 7-footer. He's one of the tallest players on the team. And honestly, there's just going to have to be more offense in that, in my perspective, in my opinion.
That's
just how I see things.
Fair enough. I agree with you. One player can't completely turn around a franchise, and 7'4" Victor Wembanyama cannot do it all by himself. So very fair. They're off to a rough start. I like that answer a lot. All right, we're going to give it here to Ronan. What you got?
All right. I'm not just going to focus on who the worst team is, but the most disappointing one. I think that's the Phoenix Suns. Everyone had really high expectations for them coming into this season. Last season, they already had Durant and Booker, but then they added Bradley Beal. And the whole thing there is, though they got rid of a lot of bench depth, was just wait until these three players are on the court. Whenever these three guys get on the court, who's going to stop them? Who's going to possibly match their offensive output? 10 games into the season, do you know how many games those three players have played together?
Can I guess?
Zero.
Okay.
Zero. They haven't played any of them together. Kevin Durant, not known for his, Iron Man ability and to stay in the season the entire time, has been the most active of the three. Arguably their best player and their franchise cornerstone, Devin Booker, has only played 2 games. And whenever Beal and Durant have played together, Beal only having played the last 3, they've gone 1-2. They're currently ranked 10 in the West. The West is one of the most competitive divisions, well, certainly the more competitive of the 2 conferences. Honestly, the Phoenix Suns needed to have a much better start than this if they were going to make a deep playoff run. They could always still salvage it together. We haven't seen these 3 players play together, but I think that health is a big indication of their success.
Absolutely. Really like that answer there. I was going to guess 0, even if you didn't ask me to guess 0. And it's been interesting to see how these super teams are coming together. You say, right, like you said, oh, when these 3 guys are on the floor, let's see what they can do. But can they stay healthy? That's been the biggest thing for a lot of these super teams, so I like that answer a lot. All right, Grabiel, round us off.
So for this one, I don't know what the preseason expectations were for this team, but I mean, when you have a team with Paul George, Kawhi Leonard, and all on the same team, there's some pretty high expectations there. They started off at the end of October 3-1, and then they made the big splashy, flashy trade for James Harden. And since they made that trade, they have lost the last 6. They are now, I believe, 3-7. And this is a team full of superstars. Paul George, Kawhi, Russell Westbrook, I forgot to mention him, James Harden, PJ Tucker. I mean, this is a great team in 2018. But now, it's like, these guys, they're getting older, but you don't know what their expectations were. These guys are still superstars in NBA terms. And they find themselves in the bottom 5 of the league. They have not, clicked yet. My bad, I spit all over the place. But they still have not clicked yet. They are just, they're not doing as good as a team like that should. So I'm gonna have to go with the LA Clippers right now.
Fair enough. Another great answer down there. Traded for James Harden. With Harden, they're 0-6. So it seems like they're more of a they're fading. They're not going towards the right direction where they should be going way up in the West, which is not happening. So, assigning points, this is a tough one to assign, we'll say. With the 3, I got to give it to Ronan, though. The Suns coming in had very high expectations. Haven't been able to be healthy. Very rough start. Liked it a lot. Been very disappointing. With the 2, going to have to give it to Grabiel. Just the trade of James Harden alone. I mean, when you think of James Harden, you think 25 points per game, throwing out some assists, getting some wins like he did in Houston. He's not that same type of player anymore. Seems to really kind of destroy teams more than build them up. Can I give you the 2 there? With the 1, I like the Spurs answer a little bit there, actually, but I'm going to give you the 1 to round off that question. Okay. Finishing this round with college football, the top 25 teams this week don't have too much competition per se, but surely one of them will have to lose a game somehow, somewhere. Looking at these games for this coming weekend, which top 25 team do you feel like could easily lose this week, and why? Ronan, we'll start with you.
I'm going to go with OU. Now, I know what you're thinking. Well, Ronan, they're going to be going up in the next 11 days against 2 unranked teams. They performed well in their last game. I believe the score was a win for them, 59-20. So why on earth could it be OU? Simple, because I would find that the funniest result. I don't like OU, so I would be the happiest to see them lose, and I don't have a watch on me. But I think, what time is it, Joe? It's 9:30? Oh, and OU still sucks. So I think that they'll lose in this coming week.
Okay, can you mention who are they playing this coming week?
It's either BYU or TCU, but I don't really care because it would be the funniest result for them to lose.
Fair enough. Okay, fair enough. There you go. 9:30. OU still sucks. I like it. All right, Carlos, let's hear it.
Honestly, this was a tough choice. You know, it'd be funny for OU to lose because simply I just hate OU as well. You know, I'm biased. You know, I'm really biased. But in this choice, I'm gonna have to go with Tennessee. Tennessee going against number one Georgia?
Yep.
Georgia's a really solid team with elite defense and elite offense as well. They haven't lost a game since 2021, if y'all don't know. And Tennessee, I mean, what are the chances of them covering the spread? It probably is really low. I'm gonna be honest with you. But I mean, it's just Georgia. You can't go wrong with Georgia and Tennessee. If you look on ESPN, the probability of them winning the game is only at 30%. Also, another pick of mine is Oregon State versus Washington Huskies. I think both of them, Michael Phoenix Jr. or Phoenix, whatever you pronounce his name, Heisman contender. And honestly, like, it's either between one of those two. But if I had to go with a solid choice, it's got to go against Tennessee versus Georgia.
Fair enough. Georgia's been looking dominant, as always, in the past 3 years. They've looked extremely dominant. Also, Tennessee last week got blown out by Missouri. Did not look good there. Really like that pick. Grabiel, round us off.
Okay, so there's not a lot of good top 25 games this weekend. You know, even if there is, they're like low 15 to 20, and they're probably going to get upset by like a Clemson. But the game of the week that I'm going to pick is going to be Washington. I believe Washington could get upset this week against Oregon State. They're going into Corvallis at night. This is going to be one of the biggest games of the year for the Oregon State Beavers. This is the last time we're going to get a true big Pac-12 game for these Oregon State Beavers, and you know they want to cause chaos. They want to go Saturday night in their own stadium, and they just want to ruin Washington's playoff chances. You know how bad they want to do that, especially in this last year. I believe DJ Uyunglele is going to do amazing.
You did say it perfectly. Keep going.
Okay. I believe he's going to do great. He's going to lead the Oregon State Beavers to a win. You know, Washington, they've struggled lately against Utah and even way back against Arizona State. I think the night game is going to, you know, hinder them a little bit, so I'm going to have to go with Oregon State over Washington.
I really like that call. I think Oregon State's a very good team. As you said, they're top 10, and I could see Washington definitely losing this game. We'll see how it goes. Like you said, Washington's had some iffy games, so we'll see. I like that call a lot.
And we need them to lose. We need them to lose.
We need
them to lose.
5 seconds. Go for it.
Yeah, I think OU versus BYU is gonna be a trap game. I really do think so. And Washington, if they lose, this is gonna change off the playoff completely. That's a big factor to factor in as well. It's what I want to add.
Fair enough. Great thing to add. I like how you added there. We got a little more time there to add. Great. I like that, Carlos. Okay, great answers across the board for this one for sure. With the 3, I'm gonna give it to Carlos though. It's the go-to answer. Oh, Grabiel's looking a little shocked. I know. It's okay. It's the go-to answer though for sure. Liked how you brought in obviously Georgia going into Tennessee, gonna take care of business. I don't think Tennessee has a shot whatsoever. Like that a lot. 2, Grabiel, I'm gonna give you the 2. Is you okay over there? It's okay.
No, I'm not. I saw this question as like an upset question, you know, like I mean, Georgia's gonna run them out of the building. Everybody knows that. So I mean, Oregon over Washington is an upset. Oregon over Washington is an upset.
I like your pick a lot. Don't get me wrong. I also loved Carlos's explanation. That factors into it a little bit, right?
I don't know.
It's okay. You're getting the 2 at the end. It's going to be okay. I do think Oregon State has a great chance against Washington this coming weekend. With the 1, I'm going to give it to Ronan. Everybody wants OU to lose. That's great. Yeah. So we'll see what happens. Okay. Great answers all around by our contestants. Adding up the scores when we come back. We've got rapid fire coming up. Stay with us. You won't want to miss it. back into College Crossfire. We have a very tight game right now, and I forgot to add up the scores in all honesty over the break, so I'm going to add them up after this question. I'm going to let you know. We make mistakes here. It's okay. But it's still anyone's contest to take as we enter into the final round of tonight's show that's worth double the points. And my advice to the contestants, don't get caught in the crossfire. It's easy, guys. It's easy. Come on. Let's get into our first question. Some NFL franchises right now have some very bad teams out on the field as we speak, but week in and week out, that can change a little bit. Yet, this doesn't necessarily mean a few years from now, the case will be the same. My question to you, what NFL franchise has the worst future right now, and why is it so bad?
Giants.
That was fast.
Worst franchise in the NFL. No explanation needed.
Fair. What about their future? Why is it bad?
Why is it bad? Because they have always sucked. They've always sucked.
Okay, out the gate, we're firing. There we go, we're firing. Eli Manning, no? Victor Cruz? No, okay, go ahead.
I want to go with the Cleveland Browns. Deshaun Watson, he just got hurt, and that cap hit is going to hit like a truck within the next couple of years. They're not going to be able to keep anybody in that core for, after 2, 3, 4 years. It's going to get ugly in Cleveland. They got fleeced by the Texans. I will give the Texans that. Hugely fleeced. But I'm going to have to give it to the Browns. They were looking good. Deshaun Watson was healthy. Now he's hurt. Other players are hurt. And, there's not a lot of money to spend up there in Cleveland, so I'm going to give it to the Cleveland Browns.
Fair enough, yeah. Not a lot of money going around anymore.
I'm not a big NFL fan. I'm just going to go off of the spirit of the team, the vibes of the team. They might be having a fluke year right now, but some might say in terms of vibes, the Houston Texans are in fact the worst in the league, and I think that they're going to have the worst future. It's just unfortunate because it's true. It's the inferior it's the inferior big city in Texas, the inferior sports city. What a shame.
Wow, he's really coming for heads, ladies and gentlemen. If you don't know, I'm a big Texans fan. He's coming for heads here. I wanted to give you 0, but I'm not going to because I like you. I'm not going to give you 0. And I'm not going to say who's getting these points because we're going to add them up at the very end. But before that question, everybody was tied, by the way, with 12. So it's a very close game. If that changes your next answer, by the way. Okay, second question coming up now. Watching Monday Night Football, I couldn't help but notice the Manning cast stream. They had Patrick Mahomes as a guest, and others throughout the season have been super fun to listen to and watch as well. This made me think, if you could have any person or celebrity commentate a football game, who would it be, and why are you picking this person? Anybody can go. Take your time. No worries.
Okay, I'm going to be honest here. I think Beetlejuice.
Oh, my.
He's just... Okay. You said which one would be the best commentator, anything for entertainment purposes. I think Beetlejuice would be a phenomenal guest on Monday Night Football with Peyton Manning or Eli Manning or whatever. The Mannings.
Yes.
They had Mahomes, which is he's a superstar. He's a really good football player for the Chiefs. But I think Beetlejuice just... That comedy is what Monday football needs. They really do need it because at times, I feel it's just too serious. We need more comedy, more humor in not college football, in NFL football, and that's just my answer.
Fair enough. Beetlejuice. Good answer there. I like it. He would add some humor. I like that. It's good.
I'm not going to go with a celebrity. I'm going to go with the person, not even a specific person, but like a caricature of a person. I want someone who's excited, who's too hyped about sports whenever they're watching it. So I just try to think of someone who gets what's a kind of person who's too excited, who's too hyped, who's too whatever. I want some sort of Wall Street yuppie that's been awake for 24 it's been awake for 24 hours trading stocks. It's been a long night out, he's maybe not in his right mind, but every single fumble, every single first down, every single touchdown, it's just an inappropriate amount of volume will come out of the cast, and everyone will just be like, ah!
Wow.
Yeah, that's what I want added to my football history.
All right, quickly at it. Go ahead.
Taylor Swift is a no-go. If you said Taylor Swift in the audience, you deserve to go somewhere else. Don't even watch the show. I'm just going to be honest.
Wow.
Swifties,
Wow, you got some more viewers out there definitely fuming, for sure. For sure.
It's because I got dumped by a Swiftie, that's why.
Oh, man, around, we're coming for heads. Okay, we got Beetlejuice and a Wall Street worker who's been up for 24 hours. Grabiel, what do you have to say?
I'm not gonna go for the too funny answer, but how funny would it be if we had Jason Conander and Tommy Yarish commentating on a Chicago Bears Monday night football game?
Like,
all right, only a Bears game, because we know how bad the Bears are, and it's funny to see Jason get mad. Jason, he's a really wacky guy. I like Jason. Tommy, real professional, but having both of them in the same room, on the same call, I mean, with Peyton Manning, Eli Manning, talking about how bad the Bears are, I think it can get really entertaining. So I'm going to go with Tommy and Jason on that one.
Fair enough. Okay. Tommy Yarish and Jason Conander, TSTV's own Bears fans who just love to rant about how bad the Bears are, which is great. Beetlejuice and a Wall Street worker who's been up for 24 hours. Those were the answers I was expecting, obviously, of course. Great answers across the board. I've added them up, and we have one question left to go, and it's a very close game. So here we go. If you haven't heard by now, Jimbo Fisher has been fired by Texas A&M and is owed north of $76 million. That's right, $1 million. Wow. If you were in Jimbo's shoes, what would be the first thing you buy with $76 million, and why? Anybody can go.
I'm buying a plane ticket right out of the country. I'm going to the nicest vacation spot in the world. All right, they just gave me $76 million to sit on my butt for the next 10 years. Anybody who walks up to me looking for a job, I'm saying no, thankfully. $76 million, that's a lot of money, all right? That's money that not a lot of us are going to see in our lifetimes. And that guy's getting it for sitting on the couch every single day for like probably the next couple years. I'm going to go with a nice vacation spot. He's in a nice plane ticket, nice cool spot. You're just sitting there with, $76 million all in your pocket, and you're just going to sit there, enjoy life, and that's what I'm going to have to go with.
Fair enough.
I'm going to have to go with gambling my money away. I just feel like it's a really good way to relieve stress, and I don't endorse gambling because that is an addiction for any of y'all viewers that are wondering. But if you have $76 million in the tank, in the pocket, might as well have some fun with it. Go to Vegas, go to Macau, enjoy your time. Because, after all, Jimbo Fisher, $76 million really for being such a bad coach. I'm glad he got fired. I'm really glad because next year's game between Texas and Texas A&M is going to be a really good one if they get a really good coach. But I also do think it's important to note that a good coach won't make good changes within a year. It takes progressive. It takes time for a good coach to evolve a team and make them into champions. But I will say, for $76 million, I would gamble my money away.
Fair enough. Okay. Plane ticket, gambling it all away. Last answer.
Both of my competitors have chosen experiences: a plane ticket, a vacation, Vegas. I'm gonna choose the sour answer. Okay, I would want to remind everyone that I have money, and especially if I was just fired by an organization, I would want all of them and all of their fans to know it. So I would buy a seat at Texas at all Texas A&M games in just a big chain that's like worth how much money did he get paid?
He's getting paid $76 million.
Okay, so a $76 million chain that says, "Ha ha, I'm rich, you're not."
Wow.
Texas A&M sucks. And that's all on the chain, of course. That's like with the nicest diamonds, and he gets like press front row, whatever you want to call it, where the cameras are always on him, so all of their fans have to see it. That's what I would do.
Okay, these are just great answers. Plane ticket, Vegas, and that's right, a $76 million chain that says "ha ha." Wonderful. These are just wonderful answers. Okay, I have decided the winner. Points being added up. Can we get quick little drum roll? The winner of College Crossfire Week 11 is Grabiel Silva, just barely. Grabiel with the win. Do we have time for FaceTime, Joe Duffy?
We do.
We do. Grabiel, what you got to say?
Riding off into the sunset yet again. Another win. I don't believe it. I'd like to thank everybody watching right now. I'd like to thank everybody watching right now. I finally got another win. Back-to-back 1-point losses. I get the monkey off my back. The hat, I'm going to leave it as a good luck charm. If y'all see me on here again, the hat will be back. So, thank you.
Well, Grabiel, congratulations to you again. Great answers all around by our contestants tonight with some phenomenal competition across the board. I'd just like to thank all you guys for coming out here. Grabiel, congrats again. And that will wrap things up for us here at TSTV tonight. Thank you to everyone who makes the show possible, from the contestants to the in-studio personnel, all the people in Master Control, and to you, the audience, especially. I'm your host, Ronan Swantkowski. We will not see you next week due to Thanksgiving, but we'll be back the week after. See you then.